Global Esports had a very heartbreaking and tough loss in their final lower bracket game against Zeta Division, and it was something that a lot of us did not like at all.
Global Esports do want to play that contact.
Oh, there, guiding light. Delay, but put on finding Benkai backside. Step up and over the top. Zeta's already hit her own. Both volleys actually were committed. Over towards the revolving door. Sat here, judge in hand, they're spraying away. Takes him very low. Balls placed here in Huga. Looking for a trying to hold his ground here. And on Yuran. 2v3 reveals
Benkai
up in. Pass finds him, and the wall bang from Yuran will finish the job.
It was a very heartbreaking loss in the sense that they did not play well. There were a lot of glaring problems that a lot of people were pointing out as well. So much happening with Global Esports in that game against Zeta. From top to bottom, it was just a very bad day for them. But what exactly happened? What were the problems and what should, could, and will be fixed by the team in the time before the regular season? Let's find out. Let's get into it. Now for me, I kind of pointed out the biggest problems into 4 different macros and put them across into points that you guys would be able to understand as well. And those are right here. Number 1 being the agent comp restriction. Now this is something everybody was talking about. The fact that we're playing a single controller Viper on bind with a double initiator, and it kind of is not the most ideal situation to be in. Now I agree with this to a certain level, because even if you have a single controller on bind, the point is that you are able to have that composition work at times if you've got a certain game style attached to it. And that's the second problem, the play style. Even though Global Esports did go with that composition, it wasn't going to be too much of a problem if they followed the plan, the foundation of the plan that comes with this kind of a composition. And what is that? A double initiator who create pressure constantly, put Zeta under pressure, put aggression constantly on them, use Polvi to his maximum level output, and go along with that flow to keep Zeta from being anywhere close to taking information themselves, being proactive, whereas you should be dictating the pace of the game. But instead, it was the pressure that was caused by Zeta Division that kind of forced Global Esports to, I don't know what exactly it was, but they came with a game plan which they did not follow. The foundations were out of the window, and they played more of a contact style play with a double initiator comp, which did not make sense to me, because if you want control, if you want to gain map area, you need those double initiator comps to help you gain more and more space, which is of course facilitated by Polvi using that utility. And with the Viper, there's only so much you can do in terms of control, because if you go for that A side wall, you most likely will have to commit there, because you have no other option, but because the smokes are not available on the other side, unless if you take the orb and maybe give one lineup, that's about it. You're gonna have to take fights. But they couldn't do that because the game style, the play style of this composition came with the restriction that they had to play a little bit more aggressive, which they didn't at all. The third problem for me was, of course, the maps that they chose. Now, while Lotus is something that GE banned, they ended up not banning it this time. They banned Icebox rather, and went for that bind pickup, which I was not too much having a problem with. But the fact that they came in with a little bit more, I would say, confidence that they would be able to do something different this time, I was excited for it. But the problem started in the first round itself, because the minute they came onto that bind map, it almost seemed like they were no better than they were before. There were no changes in the gameplay, because if there was, I'm pretty sure we all would have loved to watch it, get some revenge, right? But it did not happen. And I would have preferred if they probably chosen Sunset, because just before this game, Zeta had lost to T1 on Sunset in their best of 3 against them in the upper brackets, and it was quite a convincing loss as well. So Global Esports would have come into this with a lot more stronger mentality on Sunset, because they are one of the best on Sunset at the moment. So it was a little confusing for me there. Number 4 would be the confidence drop over time. That actually is kind of all 3 of the top points combined causing that. Because the minute they started losing on bind, they were 6-0 down and they had to desperately find their first round. It came on the back of 2 strong ultimates that caused them to have to commit very heavy into getting a round, and following that up eventually with that aggression that I was talking about. We're going to talk about all of this as we head into the game. Let's see how it all went wrong. Starting off with the pistol itself, we're going to see a lot of that game style coming pretty early on. Now, Global Esports are looking to go a 4-man stack towards B long, while they leave Benkai towards A short, and this is basically what they have been trying to do pretty much the entire game. That 4-1 split to allow Benkai a bit of pressure to give it through the lurks, but they are trying to get contact towards B. But the problem is that with this composition, I was expecting them to be a little bit aggressive and go towards B long with full force. close, but that wasn't really the case. They were actually going in for a lot more of a contact play. But look at Zeta Division. They dropped on a smoke instantly to show that they are coming into this game with a lot more proactive pressure than Global were going to expect. They go on out as a walk towards B long out through the smoke. Utility comes in a little too late. Russ swings it out wide when he's the one who's got quite a bit of utility to actually enable this side for the taking, because he of course is the KO to disable the opponent's abilities. And now instantly they've lost one of their initiators. This becomes kind of a handicap and they stop instantly. Now because of this pressure and no other contact happening right towards B long, Benkai can't do anything towards A. He has to retreat. He has to come back and he has to play here. Hiroron still gets a little more information. He knows that they're still towards B long. And while Global Esports are deciding what to do while they wait for Benkai, they are now going to walk into the side with the wall not even being raised. So they know that there possibly could be a crossfire here, but they don't raise the wall to actually kind of separate the side into two halves. Instead, Polvi walks in, gets his life taken out. Even though there are two trays that come in, it's kind of a detriment to them because they are still down in numbers in terms of health, because Lightning Fast is on 5 HP, Blazer King's on 18, and Benkai is still coming on and is holding on towards Hookah. Now they would need a massive clutch here from somebody because two players here were pretty darn low, and Laz is already taken out with a stroke of luck. He is spammed down Blazer King from his elbow region, and with that the round kind of just crumbled on itself because Benkai got the unlucky slot of timing against him, because I believe he could have gotten a kill here if he had just not turned away at the wrong time, and the round just ended here. And this is the kind of game style that I was talking about. Playing a little bit more contact, not using utility to its best, because even though they had the wall here, you notice that Depp was ready in this corner and he took out Polvi. If maybe that wall would have been raised, they could have focused on maybe just forcing their way into elbow as a 3 and let Benkai come in from the hookah region and take care of whoever tries to stop them. But that was not going to be the case, and they ended up losing this round. Now this is one of the rounds that actually kind of makes me think this is the most evident example of the fact that Global Esports were playing a game style that did not suit with their composition at all, nowhere close to it, because the contact play in this round was beyond horrible because of the way that they executed it, because of the way they wanted to go for that B execute. It wasn't even an execute, it was just play style that straight up showed that Zeta Division were just prepared for it all. In the 5 rounds that Zeta Division have got so far, there was a very clear indication that Zeta were not afraid of taking control of map, especially B long, where they've constantly had that Sky and Race combo come in and come out. They go towards hookah sometimes as well, but all the time Zeta have been pushing a little bit of that map to take control or hold crossfires to keep Global on their toes, because they were not allowed to do anything. In this round, you're going to see there was a bit of pressure that was given from Russ and Polvi towards Hookah. They just went in, tried to get a little information. They didn't really get anything, no information across map anywhere. It's the same 4-1 split once again that they were trying to commit to. But this time, you need to notice one particular thing. What is that? Lightning Fast is here. He's got 2 mollies, right? He's towards B long. He can come there. He's got 2 mollies. We've got 2 flashes from Russ. We've got 1 grenade from him as well. We've got Polvi's boom bot. We've got Blazer King's flash. We've got his Lil Bro as well, forgive me. And we've got so much utility here. But what exactly is what happens here? Well, the flash comes in from Hiroron. They get information and Polvi just walks in, and everybody else, nobody here uses utility. There is a very clear miscommunication happening here, because Rush decides to go back, then comes another to peek there, Lightning Fast comes in to peek. 3 of those players lose their lives there, like it's almost nothing with the amount of utility that they had to clear out that side. They know, I'm very certain that Global Esports know that with the amount of proactiveness that Zeta was showing towards that B-long side for the last 5 rounds, this should have been a clear indication that there could be somebody sitting on this left side or even here. But Polvi or the rest of the teammates didn't actually expect it at all. They could have waited for Russ's knife, but they didn't do that either. There was no execute. That contact play is what I'm talking about. That's been happening for the first 5 rounds, where they're trying to see and poke if Zeta are going to do anything instead of they themselves setting up this macro, going for a full set execute, making the Zeta players feel the pressure of their utility. But they couldn't, because Zeta was so confident at this point, because Global Esports were letting them have that kind of pressure, that they were pushing them to the spawn and taking their players out. At this point, Global Esports were dropping down in a lot of confidence. And this was started from when the very first round itself, where Zeta were constantly already being proactive, whereas Global Esports should have been that team. And this is exactly where they kind of lost almost half the game right in the beginning itself. Now remember, I told at this point there was going to come around where they will finally realize that there is a little bit of need of aggression, and that only comes in when they've got 4 ultimates on the line, two of which were the ones that actually won them this round. Now that pressure that I was talking about, right, is created by what? It's created by ultimates like the showstopper from Polvi, because the minute you see or hear that, you instantly realize, you need to get away, or 90% of the times, unless you're of course somebody like, Death, who's going to shoot you straight out of the air, even though you've got a showstopper. But when you've got a showstopper in front of you, you most likely instinctively choose to go back, and that's the pressure that Global Esports need to create from the rest of the utility in the beginning itself. But they do that finally in this round. As we go into this round, you're going to see that there is an A take that is imminent to come. They've split towards Showers and A shot. They realize that they need to use Polvi for that aggression, which they have told themselves time and time again that he is an extremely aggressive duelist, and they want to use him to the best of his abilities, and he is really good. And Polvi is really good, guys. They finally get to use this at the right time, but the problem again arose when they kind of got a little complacent with getting those extra kills. Now, the showstopper being committed here, instantly you can see that Zeta's players are flying back. There is not that much utility barrage coming in from Zeta. They're just going to try and keep themselves safe because, of course, the showstopper being there. That gives the space. Now, this is the space I was talking about. The minute you've got that pressure from that sort of utility, the space is created for the Global Esports players to flood into the site and maybe take extra control. Because with the dual initiator setup, what you can do is take more fights, push them forward back, push them towards their spawn, make them feel uncomfortable. That was what was needed. Polvi this time gets proactive. He goes for a couple of kills on the other side. He gets one towards inside the pit, one towards U-Haul as well. And this is where Global Esports finally found their first round, thanks to 2 big ultimate commitments. Even though this happened, Dev was still able to get away with 2 kills here. As we can see, Rust will go down and so will Lightning Fast. But it's still not too much of an issue. I believe Blazer King also will lose his life. No, he's going to be alive, forgive me. 2 players do survive this round, but it was again an expensive round considering all things, that they did not have at all much economy considering the 3 players who died, and they had to invest in 2 walls to find their first round. Now, this is where, ladies and gentlemen, the game actually kind of showed itself that Global Esports, wait, you know what? They actually might know what they're doing. Why? We're going to go ahead a couple of seconds in time and find out just that. Now, you can see that there is a shower take that's going to come in imminently from Global Esports. And this is what exactly I was screaming for from Global Esports when they were playing this map for the first 7 rounds. This, with the utility usage, is what they wanted, because this is where Polvi's true skills is actually showcased. Now, they want to go for an aggressive shower push to keep Zeta out of this area, or at least get a kill maybe, and get that A-shot pressure to come in at the same time to maybe catch somebody going out of position, right? And that's exactly what happens, because this time they get Polvi to double satchel in on the back of a flash. Even though there's a smoke in front, it doesn't matter. He's going to go straight into the face of that Brimstone, take out Sugar Zero, and that caused his Lash to become a little complacent. He tries to get away. The short push comes in at the right time. They know where Lash exactly is. The pressure, look at that pressure. It's amazing. Look at how much it's causing chaos, and they've already taken the site. Now, this is exactly what I wanted to see from Global Esports. I'm pretty sure everybody wanted to see from Global Esports because of that double initiator comp. If you split them up to come from 2 different regions, they're going to cause so much panic for the Zeta players, because Zeta were not at all ready for this aggression. They could have easily racked up maybe 5-6 rounds on this first half, but it came a little too late. And towards the end of this, you could also see that the minute they got that first kill towards Showers, the rotation from Zeta was almost instantaneous, which means the faking mechanism that Global could have probably used in this game would have been very well executed if at all they would have gone for it. But they did not really have the game plan in store for making those plays happen, because the minute they were trying to go for those contact plays, Zeta were unmoved. They were not going to move not even an inch from their places, because they know they've got crossfire setups in good places. They don't need to push up any further. They've got Global Esports in their hands and they're reading them like a book. This round was testament to the fact that Global Esports needed to be aggressive, needed to be in the face of Zeta division and get those rounds for themselves earlier on. It could have been such a better scoreline because of this. Just when I thought that Global Esports had figured out the formula, and you know what, yes, this could be at least a 7-5 half based on how they're going right now, is exactly when they change up the game plan once again. They realize that Dep is the guy who's probably one of the best oppers in this Pacific region, and they know that he's probably going to pick it up. They had an idea probably from the last round itself, but what happens here is that they've allowed him to get the operator, and he's set up towards Q-Hall, right? Now you can see that Russ's knife is currently going in towards Showers region to cover off that, and they find the Brimstone there. They will find the Brimstone there. But what's happening on short? They're going in for a contact peek. Now this instantly takes out Polvi, the one man who could have spearheaded them into the side, and instantly Global Esports are handicapped. They've got nothing else in terms of aggression coming in. Now they're just sitting and waiting. They're like, what is the game plan now? They know the Brimstone is here. They know Dep's here with the operator. Do they want to challenge him? Do they want to go towards him? They've got the Viper wall towards B. They could obviously go back and try that, but there's no particular game plan being executed here. The entire situation turned out in a way that Global Esports were just focusing on getting that plant down some or the other how. They wanted that plant to go down with the wingman, which was constantly being read by Zeta. Before taking off backside control itself, Global Esports were focusing more on getting the plant and playing post-plant almost instantaneously. Now, while they're able to take a little bit more extra control with the knife being awaited, it's still not enough because they're still walking into the side. They're not giving pressure to Zeta. Zeta are ready for this. And one after the other, they go into weird positions, like Blaziken coming out of that smoke there, giving up his life. Sugar Zero takes him out. Of course, he was ready and prepared for that. And even though Russ activates his ultimate, it's not going to be of any use here. Why? Because they're going to be flooding into this side pretty easily. Then Benka is going to get taken out the minute this cage goes down, and instantly after that, Global Esports will get pressure into peeking out because that neural theft from the Cypher comes in and Benkai peeks out from Showers even though he didn't need to. Lightning Fast goes into his own smoke and tries to get back. He does exactly what Blaziken did, and he finds the same fate that Blaziken did, going through his own smoke, trying to peek out of backside like as if there's gonna be only one player there, and Dep activates the ultimate just as a safety measure to get it, and Zeta find almost a perfect round in terms of a retake because Global Esports themselves were kind of underconfident about where exactly they should be playing these post plans because they were not even playing exact post plans. There were no lineup, players going back for their lineups like they did in one of the previous rounds, but it is what it is. And this is basically how the entire attack situation kind of dwindled down. Towards the end of the half, Global Esports were playing a little bit more better. Even though they had given away 2 rounds on the back of their 2 aggressive pushes, they gave out a little bit of contact, and of course, individual brilliance from Depth that just kind of, dismantled Global Esports. This round was again to show what Global Esports had the potential of doing in this first half, but unfortunately couldn't do it all the way in that first 6 rounds that Zeta won. Now, they do get information that Dep is currently in towards Showers because Russ's knife does give him out that the fact that there is an operator here. So Global Esports just throw in a bit of utility, a nade committed here, and they're instantly going to rotate back towards A. And that is a decision that is taken in good faith because now, instead of going out through a smoke like they did in the first round and pistol just by walking through it, this time that double initiator combo is very well used in terms of their flashes. Now the smoke from the Brimstone is going to come down here and they're going to be right over there, and they might have realized that Dep could have rotated here because they heard the satchel, right? So they know he's here. And finally 2 flashes come out which force him off. This is exactly what we wanted to see from them. Put down the flashes, put down the util, force Zeta into making very questionable decisions, make them feel a little scared, and only then will you be able to find yourselves in good positions. Dep once again with his individual brilliance just get 1, but Polvi is there for the trade almost instantaneously, and now they set up into post plants as well. As you can see, this is what was missing in that previous attacking round where they had to get away, because you can see the Blaziken and Golu have gone down towards a shot. Now they're playing for the post plant, and that is the win condition of this round. Even if Polvi dies here, which he does, and they lose another player, in the form of, I believe, Benkai, even though he gets a trade, the post plant util is what actually helps them get this round. Because even then, it comes so close. Lightning Fast was so close to getting killed there, and this round could have gone all the way up and down. But it was because he was alive that they won this round. And even that was so close because he got dinked up, he got killed, and he was allowed to, Uran was allowed to escape. But the reason they won that round was because of that post plant, which they did not have in the previous round that we just talked about. And this, ladies and gentlemen, summed up the first half. They did finish it 8-4, but it was a little too late as Zeta had gone off with quite the confidence and they had gone way ahead. With this confidence, Zeta were able to take off the second half as well pretty convincingly. Although Global Esports had good ideas in that defensive half, it just wasn't enough because the pressure of Zeta constantly kept pushing on them, and Depth's individual brilliance was on its best level that day. And Lotus, when it came in, it almost seemed like it was a game done and dusted because Lotus was something that Global Esports almost had no idea what was happening because Zeta were really strong on it, and Global Esports have not liked Lotus for their recent past because they've banned it before as well. So picking Lotus, and especially this phase from Spin,
kind of boosted up their bind because it feels as though Global Esports would be prepared for it. Up their bind because it feels as though Global Esports would be prepared for it.
Was something that kind of gave away the fact that, you know what, they weren't expecting Lotus. They were probably expecting Ascent. But in my opinion, if they would have picked Sunset, or maybe would have just changed up their game style on Bind to be a little less contacty, I think we would be sitting right now watching. We would have watched them in the play-ins instead of Zeta. But hey, it is what it is. The season's not yet done, of course. It's just begun. Regular season's coming in. I still believe in GEFighting. Even though, yes, I will criticize them for when they make bad play, but I still support the players. I'm still going to get them all the love that, I can give them. But I obviously will be, and all of us will be expecting better from Global Esports. GEFighting, let's go.